why am I doing this content series? So, a lot of people don't know what my journey has been, but I have been on the spiritual path for the last 11 years. I have gone through the dark night of the soul. I have overcome tremendous amounts of trauma, and I know there are hundreds of thousands upon millions of people in the world who go through similar experiences, who are at the point of depression, abject despair, have had trauma, lost, people, things, material possessions, jobs, security in their life, and at times it's hard to find a good source of information for your own path, because while I may be able to communicate my experience, I don't have the answers for your journey. In fact, I don't know anything about your journey. All I can share with you today and throughout the course of this series is my experience, what I have learned along the way, in hopes that maybe there's a takeaway for all of you. Even if it's just one small thing, maybe it's just one phrase, one message. Maybe I pull one tarot card, and that's the takeaway for you. I'm hoping could be that granular for you, or it could be so profound that it maybe prompts you to further your own development along the spiritual journey, elevate your consciousness to another level, or truly just tap into your own personal power that already exists inside of you, that is either dormant or you have not fully stepped into, or you want to step into, so you can achieve your highest potential in this lifetime. I'm going to try to minimize the negative content that I'm providing, not because I can't, trying to think of the best way to say this, but I want to keep this uplifting and hopeful and inspiring for people. There will be parts of the content that is not the sexiest. I'll be, the first person to admit that, if it's relevant and part of the spiritual journey or relevant to the content that I'm going to share. But ultimately, I'm not going to hide anything from anyone. I'm not going to not be transparent about my experiences if, again, it's all relative to the topic at hand. But what I don't want to do is just dial in on all the things that could happen, because every person's journey is different. Every person's life is different. If it was negative in my world, it could be positive in somebody else's. It's just really, how am I looking at the life experience? What am I, taking it for? How am I processing it? So I'm not going to really label things as negative or positive. I'm just going to share experiences, various topics, and really I'm relying on everyone listening today and throughout the series to provide feedback, because I really feel that while I do have knowledge on various topics and can speak to my own personal path, I want it to be meaningful for the audience. I want you to want to hear it. So if it's something that is boring, if it's something that you're like, this is meaningless, this is not something I really want you to elaborate more on, I want you to tell me. I would love that. So I can know exactly what content to deliver to you that, again, is going to have a meaning, have a purpose, have an intention, or just give you some peace in your heart that you can proceed on your path forward and tap into your own personal power that we all, carry with us day to day. So please like, share, comment, put in comments. I want to hear it, good, bad, ugly, whatever your feedback is. I'm open to it. I'm relying on you to help drive or expand the content, or help define the framework for this, because I truly don't know exactly every single topic that I want to do, but there are a number of them that I think are important. There are ones that I think A number of people have kind of come to me lately feeling a bit lost and unsure and not knowing how to proceed, which is, again, not a negative thing, but there are a lot of people, I think, looking for answers or some type of guidance, and there's definitely a need for at least a few of these various topics that we'll speak about throughout the course of the series. So, down to the actual fireside chat for today. So I was like, okay, well, what is going to be the best first episode, right? It's a lot of pressure. And forgive me too, because Mercury is still retrograde, so and I am getting over a bit of strep throat, so bear with me. My voice is not 100% yet, but I'm also a little bit fuzzy for Mercury retrograde going direct. I think this weekend or early next week, which is amazing. But we just had the equinox, the fall equinox, right? So everything's on the axis poles, it's shifting, there's less light in the day. We're moving from summer, long days, hot weather, and a lot of sunshine, right? To a time of transition, and we're getting towards winter time where things are going to start to die off in terms of the plants, and the leaves are falling, and we're moving into the winter months where it's often known as the state of decay, or the darkness kind of takes over. A lot of people do find that they have less energy due to the lack of vitamin D, that they're getting from the sunshine. Some people, particularly the ones maybe born in the summer months with like Cancer or Leo or Gemini, when we go into the fall and winter seasons in particular, some of us can get depressed and really sad because it's not in our nature, right? We are summer babies. We are just born on the complete opposite season, so sometimes you will be affected more. But a lot of people are just coming to a point of transition. They felt a major shift, at least in the last week, couple weeks, relative to their life, what is manifesting in their life. So it's a really exciting time for a lot of people. And others are finding it to be very challenging. They are having a hard time evolving with things coming to an end, having to move into new states of being or new directions, life paths. And it's an interesting dichotomy, I guess, to see everyone and how they're handling all the changing times, changing energies, the polar shifts, the seasons changing. It's a lot of different things happening at once, the equinox, and then the changes, the daylight hours, and the more darkness, and the leaves are falling. It's like so much transformation, right? We went from Virgo season to Libra. And so it was kind of like a focus on the self for at least the last, month or so, and cultivating perfection of the self and focusing on attention to details and being a little bit more regimented and routine and building better foundations for our life experience or stability, which is very much Virgo energy. As we move into Libra season, it is the shift from the self, me, and that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's the focus on cultivating the self to transition into a time of more focus on relationships, connections with others, finding balance in our life relative to work and play, head and heart. And a lot of people too have found that spiritual karma, justice, all these things are being really brought to our attention in ways that maybe in the past, or when we were more self-focused, we weren't as dialed in on those things in particular because it was more directing the energy towards my focus, what I'm doing, where I'm putting my energy. Now it's going to be kind of reflected back in a sense where we're really assessing all the hard work that we've done, leading up to that Pisces moon that was end of August, a time of manifestation, a time of harvest, watching the fruits of our labor come forth in really beautiful and harmonious ways that we've worked so hard for so long, right? To see these things manifest. And now it's all coming together. It's like a really exciting, amazing time. The first series, I guess, or the kickoff fireside chat that I thought would be cool for today has nothing to do with any of that stuff that I just led up to this conversation with. But it's an interesting topic. A lot of people are talking about this topic. They've been talking about it for a really, really long time on YouTube, on the internet. A lot of people are going through these experiences firsthand. They're living them in conjunction with another through connection. And so not everyone believes that this concept or framework exists. But I thought, regardless if you believe it or not, it still is a fairly interesting topic to discuss at a really cool fireside chat, right? So why not? Let's just run with it. Let's see what happens. And again, would love some feedback. Feel free to put a comment in. If it's terrible, would love to know that too. But regardless, so what is the topic? Let's get to the point, right? I thought it'd be really interesting today to talk about, since we're moving into Libra season and it's more relationship focused, right? We see on YouTube a lot topics about soul connections, karmic connections, soulmates, twin flames, twin souls, our connection with the higher power, right, that exists inside of us, around us, above us. What does it all have to do with anything, right? How do we know when someone comes into our life, right? We meet hundreds of thousands of people in our lifetime. How do we know who is the soulmate? How do we know who is the karmic connection? How do we know if somebody walking down the street is a divine being, right? They may label themselves as a divine being, but how do we really know? Are there signs? Are there characteristics, attributes? Is it their energy? That's probably one of the most difficult things for any human walking on planet Earth to fully decipher. Even if you are the highest of the highest divine being, even if you are Buddha, even if you are the Dalai Lama, I'm not them, so I can't say exactly how difficult it is for them. It might be really easy. I'm just making somewhat of an assumption here, but they're still a human. This is more so speaking from the perspective of we're all humans walking around. So even the divine beings of the highest order, high priestesses, light workers, star seeds, all of us collectively are still human beings on the spiritual journey, living a human experience every single day, in hopes that we can elevate our consciousness, focus our intention with clarity of purpose, and achieve our highest potential in this lifetime, whatever that is, for each of us individually and as a collective. So many people have come to me lately as a client, a friend, some random person I might have gotten into conversation with about this topic, or seen on YouTube or seen online, on my own curious nature and due diligence, looking into the topic on my own. And what seems to be a common theme across everyone is that, how do we know, right? And if I know and label somebody as a soulmate, karmic connection, this is my twin soul, this is my twin flame, it's the divine masculine, the divine feminine, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the person? Is it supposed to function like a normal relationship? Is it a union? Is there harmonization? What is harmonization? There's a lot of things going on, right? Yet very few people are taking the time to sit down and have a conversation about it and really explain the differences so people can have some sense of information to base their own experience on. This is not the end-all be-all. I'm not claiming to be an expert on every single facet of the human experience, nor am I claiming to know your journey in particular and how any of this would relate to your life experience, because none of it may relate, to what you've been through, past, present, future. You may be like, this is the worst video I've ever seen. That's cool too. Whatever resonates, take what resonates. I'm just here to deliver information that I have personally experienced myself. I have spent a lot of time, the last 11 years, on my own, reading, living, surviving, healing. And in that time, I didn't really have anyone to hold my hand along the way. In fact, I really tried to limit how much exposure I had to even other spiritual practitioners on YouTube, on the internet, and was very cautious with who did I take my direction from. As I evolve my own consciousness, as I'm an initiate, now I'm moving towards mastery, whatever level, each one is at in their own evolution. But ultimately, it's irrelevant if I'm an initiate or a master. The point is that I think it's very hard to fully grasp some of these concepts unless you live them firsthand. And when you do not have someone there to kind of direct you or give you some guideposts along the way, it can get very confusing. You can feel lost, scared, feel like you're losing your mind. You can feel like your world is shattering around you, and you just need someone to hold you for a minute, or just be there to make you feel a little bit more reassured that, no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. Other people are like, I don't need any of that. I don't need the emotional connection. I don't need you to nurture me. I just need somebody to tell me, what is this? What am I doing here? Where am I going? So I can continue on my path. I'm more of an efficient type person. I don't want to waste time. What's the reality of the situation? Everyone's going to get something different, I guess, out of all of these connections that you seem to gravitate towards throughout the course of your life. Childhood, young adulthood, early adulthood, and as you mature through old age. While they're all different and unique in their own way, if you are familiar with Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, I do believe there is some truth to that as a framework for the human experience that we all go through. If you're not, I encourage you to check out some of his videos online, because he does go into great detail about what the hero's journey is, and I'm not going to touch on every stage of the hero's journey that's probably a different episode or whatever, video altogether, episode, right? Video altogether. But what I will say is that if you have not ever heard of it, if you are unfamiliar, Carl Jung, another came up with synchronicity and the ego, and all of this ties back to how soul connections impact our lives, how people come into our lives, how we perceive people, how we accept people, how we embrace them, how we look at even our life experiences. Do we label them as positive or negative, or are they just another life experience? It all relates to your journey along the way. It's just how you're choosing to see it, process it, experience it, feel it, live it, right? So, getting to the point, the hero's journey is a circle. There are 12 stages of the hero's journey. Every superhero movie that you see is going to be probably on some level based on this, where there's a call to adventure, there's a refusal to the call. This person goes through all the stages. They face, arch enemies and a nemesis, and are they going to overcome and, be successful and be labeled a hero at the end of the day? I do believe that we all live that life experience. Maybe not exactly in that order, but what is interesting is I had listened to Joseph Campbell the other day, and when I was talking to a friend who was unfamiliar with him altogether, and so I ended up going back to watch several of his videos. Joseph Campbell he has a website, and I believe there's like a whole library of all different videos, but it was interesting. Something, even for me, what I love about the spiritual journey and relative to some of these soul connections is that if you truly embrace the spiritual journey, it doesn't matter if you're a high priestess, you're a master, you're a Buddha, have certainly lived a life experience and overcome a tremendous amount of trauma, healing, very challenging pathways forward. Every day you learn something new. If you keep an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to accept and receive new information as it comes forth and your consciousness elevates. We like to think like we hit the highest level, and that's the achievement, right? I'm now a master, but even a master can learn from an initiate. There is no rule, tied to that. If anyone tells you that, I would perhaps beg to differ, but that's not to say every experience, every person is going to be the same way. From my experience, a master can absolutely learn from even someone who's just awakened. So it just depends how open you are to receiving the information. So why I bring this up is because, I've looked at the hero's journey so many times. I've looked at the wheel. I've looked at astrology charts my whole life, particularly the last 11 years, trying to understand my soul purpose, my destiny. Why am I here, right? What is my highest potential? And even getting granular, looking at the degrees of my sun. Where is it placed? What are the aspects? Reading my saving symbols to better understand what is the true meaning behind my sun placement at 26 Cancer. What is that supposed to tell me, right? On my natal chart, when I'm technically a progressed sun now in Virgo. If you look at my progressed chart, what does it all mean? These are what were catalysts for my own journey to really say, I need to dig a little bit deeper here, because there's probably a lot I don't know about life. And as I started digging and having the courage to look deeper at things that maybe in the past I always just accepted as surface level, right? I never questioned them, never wondered. My parents maybe taught me to think X and Y and Z, but then somewhere along the way my life experiences did not align with some of those ideals that I'd been taught to believe, or opinions, and had nothing to do with my parents being not intelligent or smart or wrong. it was just my life experience somehow, wherever I ended up, seemed to contradict what I had been taught to believe. And so it didn't make sense to me after a while. I started to say, I'm not sure this is rational. This doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes that's all you need to be the catalyst for your own evolution and to truly awaken the soul to your life path. Going back to the hero's journey, though, why does this matter? When I was listening to Joseph Campbell the other day, I had an aha moment. Now, again, looked at tons of astrology charts, I looked at the wheel, understood what the whole purpose is, what Joseph Campbell was even trying to preach, I guess, to some, or teach people in his framework of utilizing this for your own life experience. However, after 11 years of the spiritual journey, commitment, devotion to living life pure of, alcohol and drugs and negative people and things, and removing toxic, ways of being and conditioning and healing my own trauma, I had never once stopped to make the correlation that perhaps the wheel that Joseph Campbell was alluding to in the hero's journey, there were the 12 steps that people, or the 12 different life experiences that were significant to an astrology chart where there are 12 houses, 12 signs. And when I superimposed them, I was like, that really makes a whole lot of sense. Because as above, so below. So if our natal chart is a picture of the sky at the time of birth, so below would be Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, where we are looking down on life experience. And the human is sitting right in the middle world, in between the two worlds, looking down and looking up. How does this relate to soul connections, right? Well, in the one video, Joseph Campbell he had mentioned that we plan our whole life. We are always, by the age of 20, we're striving for more. We have high ambitions, goals, aspirations. We're always looking to the future. We're reflecting on the past, but we're looking to the future. And we're putting plans into action. We're putting goals to paper. We're setting intentions to achieve and succeed. And we have high aspirations that are so lofty. Like, we're literally working night and day to achieve our goals because that's what we've been taught to do, kind of, right? Which is not wrong or incorrect. That's just what the 20-year-old mind is thinking. I'm ready to achieve. I'm ready to go out in the world and to achieve. Or succeed. Or make money. Or be successful at work. Or get a great job. Be a CEO. Have my own company, right? Have a family. I want to be married. Kids. Whatever. Or we're striving for something. He had mentioned in one of the videos that by the age of 40, if you really think about it, and again, it's really dependent on each individual, but ultimately, in Joseph Campbell's circle and with astrology, there's 12 major life experiences, 12 houses. Once you go through the wheel, it's basically like a loophole, right? So let's say we go around, we've already had 12 life experiences. Now we go up a level. Now we've got 12 more. We've got go up a level again. We've got 12 more. The circle's 360, so 360 days, I guess I would say. So every year, we're going through this loophole up and up. We meet different people. I relocate to a different city. Change jobs. Maybe I change my profession. I change my relationships. I was married, now I'm divorced, whatever. Seems like we're living this vast and highly dynamic, ever-changing life experience, yet the question becomes, are we really living different life experiences, or is it possible we're just replicating those 12 life experiences over and over and over and over again? And that's all there is, really. The only difference is that it could be a different location, different people, different time, different place, different environment. But I do believe on some level that is what deja vu is like when it happens, you're like, I feel like I've been here before. This is familiar to me, but I don't know why, right? Sometimes it's believed that maybe the individual, their consciousness is elevating, or they're becoming more sensitive to earth energies, or the energetic blueprint that maybe you walked through a portal, maybe you walked through an emotional traumatic experience that was imprinted into something we can't see, another dimension, but it's still here, right? It's believed that all the information in the world is, and beyond, and that the universal consciousness is everywhere, it's everything. So information is here and here and here, but we can't see it. But when we encounter another life experience that is, or person, we're like, wow, you seem really familiar. Or gosh, I swear I know you from somewhere. But the other person's like, no, I don't know who you are, dude. You're like, no, I know you. How is that possible if we truly don't know that person? That's the question, I guess, to ask yourself. Yet we're so sure that we know them, or they're familiar, or that this experience, something's familiar about this, right? I've been here before. I can't put my finger on it, but I know you're having the moment, right? You know it's deja vu and it's happening. The reason why I bring this up is because when he said at the age of 40, he often tries to communicate this to people, that we spend most of our time in the past or in the future, but not in the present moment. That is probably the most difficult thing for the human to grasp fully. We talk about being present. We say, I'm present, be in the moment, be there. Live for the moment. However, our mind, probably 80% of the time, maybe even more than that, don't know the exact number, nor is it going to be the same for everybody, but a large portion of individuals that exist on our planet today, if you really paid attention to your mind in a day, and you maybe jot this down on paper, you'd probably be blown away to understand that most, if not the entire day, our mind is somewhere else. It's not in the present moment. To be conscious and have consciousness and be fully present 24 hours a day is not possible. Maybe it is, but it takes a tremendous amount of focus. And for an individual who has practiced meditation, yoga, any other form of divination, that even, scrying or staring at a candle, that's really what you're teaching your body to do. There are different forms of yoga, different forms of meditation, so I'm not speaking with all of them. This is just a generalized statement. It's more about in certain types and certain divination practices, we are training the body and the mind to focus our energy into one particular thing at one moment and stay present without our mind being pulled in multiple different directions or with people, or what do I have to do tomorrow, or the future. We're just there. And we can see what it is, and we can focus our third eye energy onto that light source and see what happens. And so Joseph Campbell said when he talked to people at the age of 80 that he would bring this to their attention, that at the age of 40 we're still planning, we're still looking to the future, yet more than likely we've probably already achieved everything we needed to, or everything. Maybe we didn't achieve all of our goals. We set out for very lofty goals at 20, but if you think about it, that wheel, we've already pretty much had all these life experiences that were pretty much replicated. The 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Different people, different place, different thing. But again, the actual life experience, if we really focused in on it, it's probably the same one repeating itself on a loop. But you're not aware of that because it just is not exactly the same. So, relative to these soul connections, why does that matter? Because I guess when you're 80, these people, when Joseph Campbell was talking to them, and he brought this to their attention, the first thing they said was, I didn't know, I was unaware. Meaning, had I known when I was 40 that all that planning and all that wasted energy or lack of focused intention on being present, because knowing that there was really nothing to plan for the future ultimately, because it's already happened one way or another. I've already experienced it, I already know how to handle it, right? Nothing really could surprise me. It's just different time, place, person. Maybe a different experience, but again, something similar could have happened to which you probably would know how to handle it at that point. So really, what is there to plan? What is there to achieve? What is there to strive for? And they were unaware of that. They regretted not being present more because they really just wasted a lot of time and energy, and they didn't achieve anything more or less. Going back to these soul connections, there are a couple more things, and then I'm going to cut this off probably at the hour mark. I know this is very lengthy in the Joseph Campbell piece, but kicking this off, really why I wanted to start with that is because a lot of people are interacting with people that they feel incredibly drawn to in terms of connections. Could be a karmic connection, a soulmate, could be a twin soul, twin flame. Ultimately, the question is how do you know the difference, right? If all these life experiences are the same, different time, different place, different person, this person's familiar, this one's not familiar, but I feel drawn to this person, I don't feel drawn to this person, this one I'm magnetized to, another person, I'm just can't even go near them. The one I want to focus on, at least for this moment, and I'll have more content relating to soul connections and the nuances, I guess, relating to each, if you find interest in that, is the twin soul connection, the twin flame connection. There's so many questions, Quora, on the internet, on YouTube, everywhere, asking about the twin soul connection. Some people call it the twin flame connection, call it whatever you want. I'm going to reference it as the twin soul connection on this channel. What is interesting is that our human mind immediately goes to the obvious, which is we meet someone, We have a very powerful connection with them, almost to the point where we cannot believe it. It's just absolutely mind-blowing, the connection that exists, because it's so natural, it's so real, it's so much like a mirror, right, of who we are. It's reflective of us, good, bad, but there's a depth to the connection that cannot be denied. And when that leaves our life, the emptiness, the lack of that energy that you once merged with for a short time, it's enough to cause sheer agony to the soul's whole life experience, our feeling. Some people say they would want to die rather than to feel the loss of that connection. That's usually what is the catalyst for the whole experience, because it's often believed that the other person, that detachment, that sadness, that pain, that suffering, that sheer agony that we feel from them, running in the opposite direction, the runner, the chaser, runner, chaser, that's enough to kill me. I can't live without my twin soul. Like they're me, right? They're divine masculine, divine feminine. These energies have to come together, because as per unions, it's destined to occur. It's fated in this lifetime. What I personally have come to realize is that, again, I don't think everyone's going to believe this. I don't expect everyone to align with my opinions. I don't expect anyone to say she's right and everyone else is wrong. Again, that's not the purpose, but I'm just wanting to share my life experience and the concepts I've formulated along the way through my own journey, and that is it. How you choose to interpret it is really up to you. What you choose to believe is up to you. What you choose to have faith in is on you. I'm really not trying to manipulate anyone's mindset or thoughts or rationality. It is your life experience. I just want to be clear about that. But what I do feel is when I started the journey, when I did meet that person, when I did find their energy to be something I had never experienced before, it was consuming, it was overwhelming. It brought up so much trauma within me, so much hurt, pain, and suffering inside that I truly, sorry, my cat's excited. I truly did not know how to handle it. It was a shock to my soul that catapulted me onto the dark night of the soul, to question my life, to question my opinions, my conditioning, to look deeper, my astrological chart, to look at my life purpose. What am I doing with my life? Is this my purpose? If there's got to be more to life than this. And the whole time I was very convinced, if I just was able to come together with my twin soul, if I was just able to bring them together, even though I'm chasing them, they're running, if I could just bring it together and harmonize, everything would be okay. It would bring me so much happiness and fulfillment and wholeness to my life. Like, I would not feel so empty and sad and weak inside. And that was the illusion, the belief that the other person's energy was the missing piece for my life experience. This is not going to make sense to a lot of people, but there will be some advanced souls who are going to fully grasp this. And I'm happy to clarify this in another video more in depth if there is a demand for it, or if people would like to learn more based on my experience and what I think to be correct. The illusion is the tricky part, because as I continue along the path and holding the space, having faith and trust in the universe that when the time is right, divine timing is going to align us, it's going to bring us together, because I just need to continue to work on myself, to heal myself, to have faith and trust, and allow myself to experience the life experience fully, not focused on the connection, not focused on if they were only in my life, if I only had that energy again, would I feel whole? If I can't live without this. I was focused on maybe the wrong things in the beginning, thinking that was the missing piece that I needed to not suffer, to not feel hurt, to not feel empty inside. Because if I could just be with them, feel their energy every day, it would uplift my life to miraculous heights and bring some level of purpose that maybe was not fully obvious to me throughout the journey prior to meeting them, or even, throughout. The one thing that is the illusion, in my opinion, is that it wasn't the other human and their energy, even though we are one and the same, right? We're one soul beings, whatever people want to believe. Divine masculine, divine feminine, whatever. It had nothing to do with the other human. The emptiness, the withdrawal or detachment that you feel, it has nothing to do with the other person's energy. What it does have to do with is it's the catalyst for your own spiritual journey to awaken you that what is missing in your life is your connection to the higher power. That's where the journey starts. If you're not on the journey, if you're not believing in the connection or having faith that a higher power is orchestrating this through divine timing, right? Like, we have no control. It's runner, chaser. Sure, we can be like, let's just come together, let's make it work, it's all good. The dynamic doesn't work like that, unfortunately. It's not that simple. If you don't have a strong connection to source energy, unfortunately, it's going to be very hard to harmonize those two energies, because usually both individuals have a lot of karma and a lot of trauma, healing, personal growth, consciousness, evolution, personal just healing. I would say healing ultimately. It doesn't even mean you have to come from a traumatic life. There are things that you have to prepare for to bring it all together. And what is the catalyst is the lack of the connection with source energy. That's what actually is the detachment. That's what you feel, because when you're actually given that and you do awaken, that's the most beautiful thing one could ever experience in this lifetime, is the feeling of unconditional love in its fullest. Radiant white light energy beaming down on your body, healing you, loving you, nurturing you. People fall to their knees. They don't feel worthy of that love. There's nothing like it that exists, and you only get a glimpse of that. And that's what most people spend their entire rest of their spiritual journey trying to eventually to get back to, is that one moment of the mystical experience that they were shown how much love and beauty exists from the Creator, and they don't understand why it's taken away from them. And they go through the mystical experience, they get to see it, they get truth shown to them, and then it's ripped from their heart and it's taken away. And then they go up and down this depressive, I'm depressed, now I've had a miracle. I'm depressed, now I've had a miracle. And it's a very up and down journey. It's challenging, it's not easy. But the ones who keep going never lose trust in the higher power and hold the space, knowing that when I have solidified my true connection with Source, and we're actually in mutual relationship with one another, tapping into my spiritual gifts, tapping into my intuition, trusting my intuition, not relying on past or future, but being present always and grateful always, not letting the ego drive my decisions and choices, treating people with respect, being honorable, being authentic, true to who you are, truly living your life purpose and giving to others and not just always taking. After you go through all of that, that's when I believe you're rewarded with the union, assuming both parties had done the work, which is very hard to align in this lifetime because one could have done all the work, but if the other hasn't, it's not the right timing. Divine timing's not going to bring it together unless it's warranted in some regard. We're hitting the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to stop there. Whole point of this video, I guess, the one message I'll leave it with you as, is it has to start with you, your personal power, the power above, source, your connection to source. That's what is the catalyst for your spiritual journey. It's what you experience most profoundly in this lifetime through unconditional love and the mystical experience. And when you are brought in and you see the glimpse of the beauty in another as a mirror, it's building that connection with source first. Source is my twin soul first. The divine masculine or the divine feminine is just part of my duality as a human. But the creator has to come first. I'm going to do another video on the twin soul journey, just aligning it, harmonization, all that stuff, but I would love to know if this resonated with you. Again, Fireside Chat probably went too deep for the first one, but hopefully you guys got something out of it. And like, share, put a comment in. We'd love to know your feedback, what topics you want to hear. But ultimately, namaste. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. And we're going to start rolling out more of these, but ultimately, I think this is a really good jumping off point, okay, for further discussion. I'm going to pick one card just to leave us with for today. The card is Maturity from the Osho Zen Tarot deck. It is truly beautiful, right? Kind of just sums it up. It's everything, every color, and the eyes are not even open, right? It's just connecting with the higher power, connecting with yourself, your environment, being present in the present moment when you do all that. Beautiful things manifest in your life, and all you can do is be grateful for it. You know, that's all you really need to truly be happy and find your purpose in life. So I hope everyone has an amazing weekend, okay? Namaste. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, love you. Bye.